even admitted to the operator that it was a friend.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Real Deal Media Live. I am your late night host here, Dean Ryan, and it's that wonderful time of the week. It is Thursday night. It's our college night where we just let it all hang out. Well, not everything, but you know what I mean. And that's what it's all about here tonight, as we are going to take all your questions, comments, concerns, calls, conjectures, and criticism. And I think that covers everything there. Yes, that's just it. Tonight is 5 minutes to midnight. So much is happening. So much is going on. We're going to be covering some of the headlines in the World War III apparatus. Yes, we are a wartime show now. I'm starting to feel like Bob Hope in the U.S. show now. That's how crazy it's getting. I don't even know how I feel about that. But we're going to be getting into World War III. Then I'm so excited about this one, and I worked all day on this, all day, patting myself on the back. We're going to talk about a kind of parlay what we did last night. Real Trump versus not real Trump. But I think I'm ready to solve the puzzle of what exactly is going on in the anomalies that are surrounding Donald Trump here. It's eerily similar to a former majority leader of the Senate. We'll tell you about that. And also a huge breakthrough in the Epstein case. The dead man keys, the dead man switch has been switched on. That's right. I'm talking about the Epstein list and the victim who supposedly died. I'm trying not to give it away, but I have the whole thing. You don't want to miss that. And that's going to be coming up. Plus some major updates in the Justin Bieber case in relation to Puff Daddy, who apparently this Puff Daddy guy we're finding is just killing everybody, masquerading as a rapper or whatever he did. You don't want to miss that. And the relation, how that relates to Wendy Williams, that's in the Real Deal Showbiz in the second half. And another weird story regarding the dead senators over there in Minnesota, and who they're now claiming did it, and just how much of a patsy he is. I mean, this guy's such a patsy that Lee Harvey Oswald is jealous. That's how bad it is. I mean, the more we find out here. So I don't even know, which is, it's crazy. So we're going to be touching upon all of that here tonight on the Real Deal Media Live. Now, I couldn't do this without our co-pilot here tonight. They call him Coach. They call him the Warden. They call him the God of Wisconsin. That's the one and only America's favorite crooner, Jim Fetzer. Jim, welcome to Real Deal Media Live. How are you doing?
Oh, Dean, delighted. It sounds like you got a great smorgasbord for us tonight.
Well, Jim, I hope so, or I'm dead meat. That's all I can say. It is Thursday. Jim, I'll tell you, just like over a week ago, we were like living in a different kind of reality where we were just talking about the Elon Trump fight. And now we're talking about world wars. We're talking about clones. Um, Tell me this is just a temporary thing. I mean, it's crazy, is it not, Jim? It's just a crazy time to be alive.
Oh, you got it right, Dean, and I'm sorry to say, but the future of humanity is hanging by a thread. It's hard to believe, but that's where we are today.
Yes, the future of humanity is hanging on this very show here tonight. That's how important it is, and that's why Jim Fetzer is here. Okay, so and let me just put this out now because we are broadcasting, Jim, on the Real Dean Ryan over there on Facebook, as well as Dean Ryan TV over there on YouTube. We're on X. We're currently on Rumble and the wonderful, ever so pleasant Brighteon. Yes, we are. And if you want to call in, I will put this feature out now. Jim, if I don't do this, because we found out everyone has Alzheimer's now, Jim. I have it. People younger than me have it. It's just, so I got to do things preemptively now is what I'm learning. But okay, so let's get started here as we put this out there. If you want to call in, maybe not so much now, but in an appropriate time, we'll get your call there. Stand by there, Jim. Okay, let's get started now with a few headlines here from around the world and in your neck of the woods, shall we? Yes, it is. Let's get going here. Okay, so here's the latest updates on everything Iran and Israel. And if you're sick of it by now, well, just join the club. Join the club. War, what is it good for? Well, here it is. Here's the latest as Iran is now continuing its heavy attack over there on Israel. It is now apparently, allegedly, has now one of these missiles hits the Beersheba Hospital. Beersheba Hospital. That's right. 30 missiles fired in early morning barrage of warhead causes extensive damage to the southern Israel main hospital. Yeah, Israel calls the attacks war crimes. 6 people seriously injured and more on the way. And the irony to this is actually it's given me diabetes. That's how much of the irony is just it's incredible. But let me continue as I am a true professional here tonight. So here's what we know now. Iran fired a barrage of some 30 ballistic missiles early Thursday, scoring a direct hit on Israel's main southern hospital, as I shared with you. Now, emergency service said that a man who's 80 and 2 women and just a bunch of different victims have suffered some injuries. The barrage was the latest from Iran as it bombards Israel with ballistic missiles. Israel began attacking the Iranian nuclear and military sites last week, if you recall, citing the immediate existential threat they pose. That's right. They're the level of threat they pose is right up there with Saddam Hussein. Yeah, that's right. And the Boogaloo Boys, I think, too, if we can add. Well, the hospital's director, General Professor Shalomi Kadeshe, Shalomi Kadeshe, told the media, quote, a missile hit the old surgical ward building over there at Sirocco. It's a relatively old building that has been evacuated in recent days. Yeah, sounds like a Japanese hospital. Are we in the right country now? Now, Iran claimed that the ballistic missiles that hit the Beersheba's Sirocco Hospital was aimed at the adjacent military and intelligence headquarters. Now, Reuters reported that the claim was made by Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC. They're also saying there are no Israeli military facilities in the vicinity. The IDF's Southern Command Base is located away. So they're saying, basically, Iran is saying that there's a military base underneath the hospital and underneath civilians, which is what Israel claimed in Palestine. You know what I mean? This is just getting crazy. In fact, here is how it's being presented over there at News Corp, and you be the judge.
Early this morning, Iran launched yet another barrage of ballistic missiles into Israel, targeting both residential areas and a hospital. Here's what it looked like when we arrived at that medical facility. Black smoke billows from the Soroka Hospital in southern Israel. An Iranian missile hit the campus this morning just after 7 a.m., sending shockwaves through the halls. Suddenly, we heard the explosion, Juma Abu Kush says. We knew it's very close to us. Debris fell from the ceiling. Throughout the day, patients were evacuated to nearby hospitals as others were discharged if their condition warranted. First responders surveyed the damage as political leaders came by to voice their opposition to the bombing.
The Dollar regime targeted this morning is a hospital with helpless, sick people. This is an extreme war crime, and they will bear the consequences.
What's also important to note is that this is a place that there are both Israelis and Palestinians coming for care. There are Bedouins. When you walk around the compound of this hospital, there are still people in other areas. There are men wearing kippahs and women wearing hijabs. And it's an example of how this part of Israel lives, how they live side by side, and how there is a future.
Was that green screen? I mean, I have to ask, right? I have to ask. Let's continue now. As what is the response from Donald Trump on all this? Well, early this morning, what was the following? He said, quote, "We will attack Iran." That's right. One of the Trumps said this, in case you missed it. And let me tell you a bit more about it now. Well, now Donald Trump has approved a plan to attack Iran, but has yet to give a final order. Someone who's familiar with the matter said, the U.S. president has now given private instructions to military chiefs in the Situation Room inside the White House just on Wednesday morning. Sources have now told the U.S. media over here. He later told the reporters that, quote, "I have no idea as to what to do, but I haven't made a final call." Continuing, he also said, "I like to make a final decision 1 second before it's due, because things change, especially with war. It can go from one extreme to another." Now, ABC News, who apparently is a news station, has also reported that Mr. Trump is becoming increasingly comfortable, not uncomfortable, but comfortable with the idea of U.S. strikes against Iran's four-door nuclear enrichment facility. Yes, he is. Now, given the senior U.S. officials who are reportedly preparing for this targeted attack, which we'll get into here shortly, with some suggesting that there could be movement as early as this weekend. Now, leaders at several federal agencies have begun to make arrangements, according to people who are on the ground. Sources said that Trump was waiting to see if Iran would concede to a last-minute deal to end its nuclear program before moving forward with further attacks. And some of them even said there is a Doomsday plane going around and preparing to drop a 30,000-pound bunker-busting bomb. Can you believe it? Now, just as I'm telling you this, well, here's the most updated news. Well, now Trump is saying we will not attack Iran. So everything I just told you, throw it out the window. Throw it out the window. We have a new hope here. We'll get this now. Trump denies approving the Iran attack and the plan to attack, but will make a decision within 2 weeks now. Well, Donald Trump has now denied the report from the Wall Street Journal that has approved U.S. plans to attack Iran. He's saying that's a bunch of hogwash, or as Biden would say, malarkey. He'll also confirm later on Thursday, today, via his press secretary, that he's making a decision in 2 weeks.
Situation in Iran. I know there has been a lot of speculation amongst all of you in the media regarding the president's decision making and whether or not the United States will be directly involved. In light of that news, I have a message directly from the president, and I quote, "Based on the fact that there's a substantial chance of negotiations that may or may not take place with Iran in the near future, I will make my decision whether or not to go within the next 2 weeks." That's a quote directly from the president for all of you today.
That's a wonderful quote, isn't it? Isn't it just exactly what it is? And now, who's behind all of the push? Before we bring Jim up here, well, a lot of people have tried to pinpoint it, of just exactly who's really very anxious, enthusiastic about it all. Well, they've narrowed it down to the following guy here, the general pushing Trump to strike Iran. He goes by the name of Michael Kurilla. Kurilla with a K, not a G, but let me tell you about him. Well, Michael is Well, apparently he's never seen a war he doesn't like. And where have we heard that before? Let me tell you now, as Norman Schwarzkopf is rolling in his grave, Michael Kurilla, who's been swarming around Trump, coming from the Pentagon, known to be Israel's favorite American general, who is apparently, allegedly calling the shots. Well, let's talk about it a bit more. Someone who is familiar with this matter. Jim, let's get into it now. We have the General Kurilla. We have Trump, who is being very bipolar, and the world is on standby. Where are we in this conflict?
Well, Dean, that opening clip was classic Israeli propaganda. You got a relatively minor incident. I mean, in wars, missiles, artillery often go astray. They can't claim actually Iran was deliberately targeting the hospital, but it wasn't even all that significant damage. Here you got Israelis committing genocide. They've killed over 100,000. I think the number is actually much greater. They've launched an attack on Iran on the basis of no legitimate reason, because Iran does not have a nuclear program. The Israelis have been making this argument since 1984 that Iran's on the verge of having a nuke. Iran doesn't even want nukes. So Israel is committing massive war of crimes. They've now attacked a nuclear power plant in Iran. It's going to cause massive contamination. If they can find anything to divert attention, then they're going to do it. The smallest item is going to be exaggerated. That's what you saw there. And I no doubt Israel has its favorite general, a guy who wants to crunch Iran, where there are a lot of loons in the military today. Sad to say, this guy appears to be an outstanding example. I hold all these warmongers in utter contempt, because Iran is the most peace-loving nation in the world today, having not launched a war of aggression against any other state since 1775, Dean. They have wanted nukes. They're being forced to get them now. They're being compelled to withdraw from the non-proliferation treaty, and I guarantee you, Dean, the day after, they're going to be nuclear armed. They're going to get them from North Korea, from Turkey, from Pakistan, Russia, China.
Well, yeah, I mean, let's not give him ideas, Jim, but just to match you on that, the general pushing Trump to strike Iran, let me tell you, he goes by Kurilla, and let me give you a few intel tidbits, Jim, that he's known to be Israel's favorite general, and nicknamed the Kurilla. General Kurilla is understood to be given unusual levels of authority by Pete Megaseth over there, the guy who has the Israeli relic tattoo on his back, the U.S. Defense Secretary, that is, and to determine the American response to the escalating Israel-Iran conflict. He's 59 years old, has apparently overruled other top Pentagon officials managing the crises, and has had nearly all requests approved for more weapons and air defense. This is coming out of Axios and Politico. Jim, this goes incongruent to all of the other whispers I'm hearing that Netanyahu controls the Senate, a lot of the Senate through AIPAC, and a lot of the Congress. But it's not crazy to think that Netanyahu has his control in the military. Is it crazy to say that or think?
Well, the guy's just going to be a rabid Zionist like Mike Huckabee, who thinks there's no Palestinian state and there should be no Palestinian state. And you got a lot of zealots, Dean, who are a little off their nut. And this guy just appears to be an example who made it high up in the military today.
Okay. And then Liz Martin says, if they are so, Jim, why do they chant death to America? Help me understand. That's a good question, because a lot of people don't know, and we want to tell why that is. But let's get Scott Ritter here, Jim, your favorite, and then we'll get into why death of America, because honestly, Jim, a lot of people around the world may not know the history. It's so long ago, but it will make sense afterwards. Here's Scott Ritter, former UN weapons inspector, who before the Iraq war testified that there are no weapons of mass destruction, and they canned him and put him in prison, and he's back with a vengeance. We'll answer that question afterwards. Thank you.
Well, I mean, I don't know, exactly. I think we just saw 3 waves of Iranian missile attacks that appeared to strike Israel, and Israel having virtually no capacity to defend itself against these attacks. They shot down some missiles, but many missiles hit their target. If Iran is able to continue strikes of this nature, Israel is a sitting duck. We also saw that as Israel attempted to strike Iran today, they had some success, but in the area of some facilities, the Iranian air defense has reconstituted itself, and Iran claims to have shot down 2 Israeli aircraft. So we have a trajectory of escalation that shows that things are getting worse for Israel, and Iran is starting to stabilize its capabilities. If this is an existential struggle between Iran and Israel, then Israel will have no choice but to escalate. How do you escalate? You escalate by striking Iranian leadership targets, or you escalate by striking Iranian energy targets, which would then prompt an Iranian escalation. I think Israel's goal right now, if this war, because I've always said that Israel doesn't have the ability to initiate and sustain a strike. They could always attack Iran, and they prove that. Israel's weakness is that they can't sustain these attacks. They can't run a campaign by themselves. And they failed to deliver the knockout blow. Iran has proven that. So now Israel's only choice is either to capitulate, which politically they can't do at this juncture, or to try and drag the United States in. And I think that's what you're going to be seeing from now on, is that Israel is going to make a concerted effort to get the United States to become directly involved.
Okay, so let's get into why Iran is perceived by the West as, chanting death to America, Jim, because I think this is a very teachable moment for a lot of people who may not remember or have never heard of this before. Jim Fetzer.
Well, many Americans mistakenly believe that when the Iranian Revolution took place in 1979 and they took the embassy, it was the first strike. Iran struck out at America. But unfortunately, they don't know their history. In 1953, the CIA engineered a coup in Iran and deposed their very popular and successful prime minister, Mohammed.
What was his name? Because he wouldn't give the oil to the United States corporations. They didn't want to give their mineral rights.
What he did, Dean, was to nationalize the oil of Iran for the Iranian people, which had been controlled by the US and the UK, big monster oil companies. So they engineered a coup. It was run by Kermit Roosevelt, who was a cousin of Theodore Roosevelt, one of the greatest of all American presidents, and it introduced a massive secret police slaughtering Iranians. I mean, it was a reign of terror that persisted from 53 to 79. So they were saying death to America because America had inflicted this massive sadistic reign upon them. And Americans need to understand, I'm sorry to say, we don't get our history straight. We don't understand these things at all. Iran actually has great affection for the American people. It's the American government which has inflicted so much pain upon. I've been to Iran. I was there in 2014. I participated in an international conference. I've been on Iranian television. There's more freedom on Iranian television to speak your mind than there is on American. I guarantee it 100%.
Well, and you know what's interesting too, just to add to that, is a lot of the hatred towards America, for instance, is America, Don Rumsfeld, we were funneling the weapons to Saddam Hussein, who was fighting Iran, because they're different levels of Islam. When Saddam was the CIA's favorite son at the time. And so that's another thing. And all of these wars of aggression around, I mean, it's just, we're surrounding these people. But Jim, Iran, from my understanding, it's not all Muslims, are they? Are there Christians that are still there? And if they are they being persecuted? No,
Iran, peaceful Christians live peacefully in Iran. Unfortunately, in Syria now, they're being beheaded by the new regime that replaced Bashar al-Assad. Your point about Iraq is perfect, because what we have with Iran is Iraq 2.0. There were claims Saddam had weapons of mass destruction. He had no weapons of mass destruction. There are claims Iran is seeking to develop a nuclear weapon. It's not been seeking to develop a nuclear weapon. And Saddam was also a guy who, he had to rule with a strong hand, but Iraq was a very successful society as he was managing the Shia, the Kurds, and the Sunnis together, a complex society. But April Gillespie, the U.S. ambassador to Iraq at the time, gave a green light for Iraq to attack Iran, and both sides lost about 1 million people. I mean, Iran sought to defend itself. I mean, look, the Iranian people, based on their history, have good reason to be unhappy with the government of the United States.
It's equivalent to what Australia is enduring. All of their premiers, their governors, are all CCP installed. And if and when the Australian leaders start going along with the WHO treaty that they signed on to, force miracle jabs, further loss of sovereignty, Australia's already given their minerals to the CCP, then you're going to start feeling like a lot of these people in the Middle East. And, you know, if we can't do diplomacy and people who say we can't, well, then how the hell are we able to trade with Vietnam? And that's like one of the biggest travel destinations in the modern era today. So I tell you, we've been lied to so much, Jim. You're absolutely correct. But stand by there as we continue now. And yes, he said it right. We're dealing with a death cult that has complete control over Israel. I don't even know how else to express it. But let's continue now. Well, get this now. I've been doing some digging, and I found that, and I noticed it right away, just like many of you, Trump seems to be slurring his speech. And I'm ready to solve the puzzle here because it really is congruent to what we saw 8 years ago now. Well, here it is. He's slurring his speech, many have said, and people are concerned, and count me as one of them. Well, a CNN guest even said so herself, says Trump acts like a guy with, quote, from the memory wing of a nursing home. He's slurring his speech. I also noticed someone who else said the same sentiment was Colonel McGregor saying that. Others, Napolitano, and dare I say, even Roger Stone has told me at one point. Well, many people over there at CNN are seeing the same thing. Trump's repeated threats to thrust the United States into another war, or Israel's conflict with Iran, is really waking a lot of people up to reality. And maybe Elon Musk was onto something. Or was he? Well, in this case, people are saying he's not just slurring his speech. Is he being poisoned? Well, maybe there's some truth to that. Well, look at this right here. When I saw him on the plane the other night, I noticed his hands were a little weird, which is very, very reminiscent of Mitch McConnell. And let me express this a little more. Yeah, thallium poisoning. Thallium. Remember when Mitch McConnell, Jim, I'll bring you in here too so you can look with me. Remember this, Jim? We had Mitch McConnell, who was not all there, slurring his speech. He had purple hands. Trump has purple hands too. I've narrowed it down to thallium. What is thallium, you might ask? Yeah, this is what happened to good old Mitch McConnell. That was, a year and a half ago? Well, this is what thallium is, let me tell you. Pure thallium is a blue-white metal that is found trace amounts in Earth's crust, and past thallium was obtained as a byproduct for smelting other metals. It's produced in the United States since the 1984. Currently, thallium is obtained imports. Well, that's just for the peanut gallery. Now let's get into the brass tacks of it. What is thallium used for, really? Well, here it is. Thallium is a highly toxic heavy metal, historically known for its use as a poison, often in cases of assassination or criminal poisoning due to its ability to cause severe neurological, psychological damage. Now, MKUltra program did explore a wide range of chemicals, including toxins, for their potential influence, behavior, or incapacitate subjects. The available records, many of which were destroyed, which I did not know, in 1973 by order of CIA Director Richard Helms. Jim, you want to speak on that? Because this is a very dangerous thing. Thallium might have been used in covert operations due to its toxicity, but these lack of cooperations, primary sources like this, cannot be confirmed. Well, they destroyed all the records. I did not know that in 1973. In the Church Commission. But Jim, there clearly is something wrong here Okay. Thallium poisoning. Mitch McConnell had it. He was in a daze and confused. And then if we go further here, Trump's appearance concerns. This is what I noticed. Trump has blue eyes, Jim. Those are brown eyes. Look at that ear. It looks weird to me. I showed everyone last night. And the color of his hands are a little purplish. And this is kind of what happens when you take a lot of colloidal silver. You start turning into a Smurf. Jim, you want to comment on this? And is that a double? Is that a mask? Or are we just looking at a poisoned man here?
Well, I've in the past only supposed that Trump had one double who actually had silver hair rather than orange. I'm now inclined to believe there are multiple Trumps, and the color of the eyes is a tell, ears are a tell. And Dean, if you have this same discoloration on the hands that we had with Mitch McConnell, I think that's rather strong evidence that this kind of poisoning is taking place. So I'm troubled. You didn't play a segment where we could tell the speech was slurred, but if that's another symptom, I'm worried. And his judgment, I mean, the guy seemed to be a very different guy than he was on the campaign trail. Remember, then he wanted to end the stupid wars. Now he's starting new ones. He was really a much better guy and potential president than he's actually been as president once he assumed the Oval Office. So I think the reason to be concerned.
Jim, I think this is the guy who's poisoning him right here. This guy has full access. He has full backing by Netanyahu. And if you recall from 2017, 2018, Roger Stone told me exactly right on the phone that General Kelly, brought in by Steve Bannon somehow, who was the chief of staff in the White House, seemed to have been, he believed, poisoning Donald Trump back then. Slurry speech, fog memory, they control his phone, who he can speak to, who comes and goes. He's Jim, I'm afraid to say that Donald Trump is captured because this is way out of character. Nobody can reach him. And he's being so incubated. It's insane.
Dean, until you started to lay out these symptoms, really the thought hadn't crossed my mind. But now that you've raised it, I'm worried that, in fact, the evidence seems to fit the hypothesis like hand in glove.
And if you don't think doubles are real and people are using masks, well, here's just a little walk down the CIA doubles memory lane.
Now, in particular, and regarding this photograph, it is a Getty's image photograph. If you go to the link, you can see the photographer, all those kinds of details, who took it. So what is the anomaly with this particular photograph?
Do you have any people paid by the CIA who are working for television networks? This, I think, gets into the kind of getting into the details, Mr. Chairman, that I'd like to get into in executive session.
You can't be pro-insurrection and pro-democracy. You can't be pro-insurrection and pro-America. It's vaxxed or masked.
And here is the culprit, everybody. Someone who is definitely not just familiar with the matter, but in charge. Jim, very compelling stuff. And we know this is to be true. There's Joseph Robinette Biden Jr., dead long ago. Yes, it's all coming out, but they're trying to kill Trump off because he won't go to war. He won't go to war. And now what are we going to learn in 2 weeks? You know, We're going to come back to the negotiation table after someone did a Pearl Harbor on your country? I don't think so. Jim, you want to expand on that before we go to break here?
I've heard a rumor that probably just came back from the G6, or is it the G7, wants to get Russia back into that group and remove all the sanctions, and that he made that proposal, but he won't get the answer until 10 days, 14 days. I think the 2 weeks may have more to do with whether the G6 or 7 is going to be receptive to Russia returning. But that may involve, Russia cannot not support Iran. Iran is like a backdoor to Russia. China has all these, business transactions, especially oil with Iran. China cannot let Iran go. Pakistan's already declared itself to be fully on Iran's side. North Korea is already providing weapons, and North Korea has wonderful missiles and nukes. And Turkey is also, I think that, and Colonel McGregor has said this, he said, every day Iran grows stronger and Israel grows weaker. They're using up all of their interceptors for the missiles, Dean. They're practically out. And Scott Ritter, a long time ago, said, if Iran can just keep it up for successive days, that the Israeli government will crumble, will fall. And Netanyahu is taking a measure now, not allowing anyone to leave Israel. And when I thought about it, I think it's because so many would want to live in Israel. I have seen footage that makes areas of Tel Aviv look just like Gaza. And I believe those are authentic. Now, there's a lot of propaganda coming out, and we got that right in the beginning, about the attack on the hospital, which was trivial as these things go. And the guy saying it was an extreme war crime, rubbish. Extreme war crimes are being committed.
Wait a minute, Jim. Are you telling me that Netanyahu is not allowing the citizens of Israel to flee the country?
Yes.
Wow. But he fled. He went to Greece.
Well, he may have, but he didn't want the citizen to be leaving because it would look like the rats leaving a sinking ship. And I think that's the real state of affairs. But they're trying to preserve the illusion that the heavy damage is being done to Iran rather than to Israel, when I think, in fact, it's the opposite. I mean, damage is being done to Iran. But I think Iran is at this point inflicting more serious damage on Israel than Israel can sustain.
Wow. You heard it here first, everybody. I did not hear this, Jim. I mean, that is a frightening prospect. It's almost like what they did in Lahana. They wouldn't let those people leave, and we saw this throughout time. The despots do this throughout history, is what we're learning. Here, how about a question or two? So many people are in tune here, chiming in everywhere. We have Kenny 559B saying all the presidents that have tried to kick out central bankers, quit borrowing money from them, have been killed. Lincoln, the greenback dollar, yes. And Kennedy, the gold-backed Saddam Hussein, yeah. And there was just a major breakthrough in the financials with a form of greenbacks coming back to the Treasury Department. That's very interesting. But Jim, this is the first I've heard of that, I must tell you. Okay, so we have a break coming up. If you want to call in, feel free to do so. We'll put that up once again, and you can call in here at Real Deal Media Live. This is our college night, and it feels like we're in college again, doesn't it? So stand by there, stand by. Okay, when we get back, we're going to maybe harp on this a little longer. I'm so intrigued, aren't you? So intrigued. But when we do get back officially, we're going to get into the fiasco in Minnesota, all the anomalies coming out as the gunman and his wife were caught as the alleged murderers of the two senators over there. And it's a wild plot twist that makes no sense whatsoever. I'm talking about that. And also, we want to get into a feud. The Elon Musk feud is not necessarily with Donald Trump when we get to some real deal politics, but it's with the people around him. Maybe Musk knows things. And Laura Loomer is back in. We'll talk about her and, a whole lot more. You don't want to miss this. Real Deal Media Live Thursday night in it grand. Stand by. Stay tuned. We'll be back. Are we back? Are we officially back? Yes, we are. Okay, we are. Let's get to it now. Welcome back, everybody. Yes, that's our new intern who's learning the board. Yes, it is Pierre. Isn't he wonderful? I'm still Dean Ryan, your cruise director, cruising with you to midnight and beyond here on a wonderful evening with our most loved ones. Tonight is brought to you by, sponsored by all of the Night Owls. Become a Night Owl, become a visionary or debonair, and go to realdealmedia.tv to be iconic and not ironic, and a playa from the Himalaya, whatever you want to call yourself. It's such a revamped place, and we love it, and we have so many things planned for this weekend. I cannot contain myself. Okay, let's get back to business. Now, I promised a golden nugget here, and before we bring everyone back. And, well, there was a lot of talk about someone named Virginia Woolridge, who is the victim of Epstein, who suddenly died, allegedly killed herself. Well, this just happened and it just dropped hours ago, roughly 12, potentially 18 hours ago, of her dead man's keys, meaning if anything were to happen to her, all this information were to come out. And we really have yet to hear true confirmation of who went to Epstein Island, who truly was on the list. A lot of whisper campaigns, but she names two huge names, and this dropped moments ago. Check this out. This is a bombshell and a real whopper.
If you're watching this, it means they got me. My dead man switch activated automatically after I missed 2 scheduled check-ins. I had it set up months ago because I knew this day was coming. I did not die by accident. I was murdered to keep their secrets buried. My name is Virginia Louise Giuffre. I was one of Jeffrey Epstein's victims. I survived Little St. James, but survival came at a price. I saw too much, knew too much. And now they've silenced me. But it's too late for them. They thought killing me would bury their secrets, but this video is going to a few organizations I trust, ones that have been exposing the truth for decades. You know who you are. It's your job to continue this fight. I was 16 when they reeled me in. I worked at Mar-a-Lago, folding towels, cleaning lockers. My father kept the tennis courts immaculate. We were just working folks trying to scrape by. Trump, he was around, but he was never the threat. The real predator was Ghislaine Maxwell, prim and proper, smiling, promising to teach me massage therapy at the Pink Mansion in Palm Beach. I had no idea I was being fed into a nightmare machine. Epstein's Island was hell disguised as paradise. You've heard some names linked to him, but those are just the sacrificial pawns. The real players, the ones they've protected at all costs, are still hiding in plain sight. I'll name 2 now. The first, a former U.S. President, Barack Obama. Publicly, he's revered. Privately, he was one of the worst. He wasn't there for the girls. He was there for the island boys. Young boys, trafficked and groomed. I saw him more times than I can count, always without his Secret Service detail, sometimes with his Hollywood friends, George Clooney and Tom Hanks. I still have nightmares about them, arrogant and drunk on power, slinking into the cabanas with kids barely out of childhood. The second, Bill Gates, the billionaire philanthropist, loved by the media, hailed as a savior. We called him the benefactor, and we used to dread seeing him naked. But he didn't come to party. He came to experiment. Genetic experiments, human experiments. I saw him inject a young girl with something they said was a genetic enhancement. She was younger than me, strapped to a table, terrified, treated like a lab rat while they muttered about seeding the future of the species. These men think they are gods, playing with life like it was theirs to own. I'm telling you now, Epstein isn't dead. They staged his death because he was too valuable. He held blackmail on some of the most powerful people on Earth. Files, videos, confessions. They couldn't risk him talking, but they also couldn't risk him gone, so they hid him. Stashed him under the protection of the same elite who once paid him to supply them with flesh. And they thought killing me would stop this from coming out. They were wrong, and there is so much more to come. Hidden servers, encrypted drives, witness testimonies. It's all going to hit the light. This video is just the first detonation. The data drops are timed and automatic. They are going to people who can make a difference, and nobody can stop it now. Not even the law enforcement agencies in the US and UK, the same ones that buried the evidence I handed them, can stop this truth from getting out. If you're watching this, you are the resistance. Don't let my death be just another headline. Burn their lies to the ground. Make the world see the monsters behind the masks. And to any survivors out there, don't give up. We're in this together. They can't kill us all. Make them pay.
Unbelievable, isn't it? Unbelievable that we've had the most wicked demons that the world has ever seen right here under our nose, holding power right over our heads. We've been in a stranglehold, haven't we? Unreal, isn't it, Jim, that Obama, it pretty much confirms what we knew long ago in 2016 when we covered the WikiLeaks. But Bill Gates naked, I mean...
Virginia Guthrie just impresses the hell out of me. Look how thoughtful she was, how farsighted, how she planned to do this. And you got Barack Obama running around with his buddies George Clooney and Tom Hanks. I mean, that's disgusting. George Clooney is one of my wife's favorite actors. Once she learns this, I think she'll feel very differently about him. Bill Gates knew he was a monster from the beginning, and the idea that he was conducting experiments on young girls who were strapped down and couldn't defend. I mean, this is far, far removed from informed consent. This is pure torture and experimentalism, terrorism on an innocent young girl. I just congratulate Virginia for pulling this off. I am impressed.
Yes, we congratulate. Sadly, she's no longer with us. She was murdered. But, you know, this goes to show, speaking of George Clooney, you know, because we got to start looking at the people who are all around Obama in this case, you know, and Bill Gates. You get into George Clooney. The guy, I mean, some of these actors are just agents and frontmen, but Clooney in particular, you know, he has high-level clearance. He was one of the heads of the CFR, the Council on Foreign Relations. He was part of an arranged marriage conducted and concocted by the United Nations. I mean, there's nothing thespian about this guy. He's a total agent. He's a CIA agent, just like his friend Obama, who we learned in the WikiLeaks bought how much, $50,000 worth of hot dogs.
No, yeah, $65,000 to fly hot dogs and pizza from Chicago for a private party. And you got to understand, the White House won't accept food from outside sources to avoid poisoning. If a real hot dog or real pizza, they'd be soggy and edible by the time you got them from Chicago to Washington. It's pedo slang for little boys and little girls. Little boys are hot dogs, little girls pizza. Obama spent $65,000 taxpayer money to fly little boys and little girls in from Chicago for a private party at the White House. I shudder to think.
Yeah. Clooney and, they go to Greece. Greece and Israel are the two main hotspots a lot of these pedos go to. In Cyprus as well, because you can't there's no extradition, I believe. The treaties don't work there. All these people are going. I mean, look at all the people that announced they're leaving, and we'll get into more of this, but they all said they're leaving the United States. Here's in particular, who remembers this guy, George Lopez, who's turned into a warlock, some kind of creature from the Blue Lagoon over there. They're all leaving. A real shocking, Jim, but let's get to some real deal politics while we still can. Well, real deal politics, the old saying, if you don't do politics, politics will do you. Well, we're going to do politics then. Well, now a little update on Elon Musk, who's gone awfully quiet lately. Have you noticed, aside from the mishap in the rocket just the other night? Well, he seems to be talking once again as the Trump versus Elon feud rages, but this time, not so much about Trump. No, it's not. It's about the snakes around him. Well, Musk has now apparently gone what they're calling savage on a snake a Trump aide at their White House. Feud erupts. Well, Elon Musk publicly ripped into a top White House aide who fueled his falling out with Donald Trump. Tensions had already been building between Musk and Trump before the SpaceX chief left the White House about a week ago. Things got really ugly, if you recall. The director of the presidential personal office encouraged Trump to rescind his nomination for Jared Isaacman, Musk's personal friend, to lead NASA. That was the big secret. Well, New York Post revealed that this week, even though people, in this particular, the aide who goes by Gore, G-O-R, I mean, even sounds creepy, is in charge of vetting thousands of executive branch employees. He himself hasn't been fully vetted. I wonder what country sent him there. Can you guess? 5 months into the second Trump administration, he hasn't even submitted the paperwork for his own permanent security clearance. He's a snake. See, I never doubted Musk. Not so much. Well, according to the Post, the aide who goes by Gore, who's 38 years old, developed a grudge against Musk after the Tesla chief, who, as head of the government cost-cutting task force, DOGE, was a de facto member of Trump's cabinet, humiliated him in front of the cabinet members for not staffing the administration quickly enough. So Sergio Gore was upset about Elon dressing him down at the meeting and said he was going to get him. Now, remember what I told everybody about the black eye? That wasn't just, it wasn't ceremonial. More or less, it was a actual fist fight in the White House. You heard it here first. So Sergio was very upset about that. Gore reportedly got his revenge on Musk by convincing Trump to pull his nomination just days before the Senate was scheduled to vote on the appointment, meaning Elon was set to take the head and take control of NASA, that old decrepit de facto element of the government, I guess you could say. Well, the administration blamed the move on previous donations to Democrats, and it just goes on and on. Now, in closing now, White House Communications Director Stephen Schwang previously called Gore, a very gory situation, a vital member of the team, and said he has helped President Trump put together an administration that is second to none and will always benefit Israel. Gore's office responsible for assessing candidates, including handling security clearances, conflicts of interest, schedules, the whole thing, background checks, except for him. He has yet to receive one. Now, in closing, despite sources saying otherwise, the White House official claimed that Sergio Gore had completed a SF-86 form and noted that the interim security clearance, so meaning this guy snuck his way into the hen house. Can we see this? Elon's onto something, and he knows more, and he's holding back. Well, I ain't holding back anymore. And now, be careful of this one now. Laura Loomer, who just seems to be around Trump all the time. How did this little independent so-called journalist, who is never, never late to a scene, she's always Johnny on the spot with a megaphone and a speed dial to Bibi Netanyahu, but you didn't hear from me. Well, get this now. She's now threatening to snitch on anybody who's mean to Donald Trump that does not agree with her, or him, rather. Loomer is now threatening to snitch on conservatives criticizing Trump in raging MAGA civil war. Yes, the Laura Loomer has now vowed not just to screenshot any MAGA supporters criticizing President Donald Trump. And, full transparency, she's actively going after Mike Adams in a heated fight on X. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend you do, because I'm trying to help him in the fight too, but you know how it is. Well, but she's now collecting all the posts and she's delivering them like a little hall monitor, a little teacher's pet to Trump himself. Now, the White House has been actively trying to temper the civil war that broke out this week among MAGA acolytes over whether administration should provide military support for Israel's strikes on Iran. And officials have been reaching out to people like Tucker Carlson, Alex Jones, Candace Owens, all who have been critical of President Donald Trump in this recent wartime affair. Well, what doesn't make sense is now there's going to be a Office of War Information. So she's providing the ban list. This little goblin right here. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we see her. We got her number. Okay, now here it is here. Let's bring in Jim here as we're going to talk about this, and then I want to get into the update on Minnesota. But Jim, this makes a lot of sense now. Elon knows things. When he made the comment on X roughly 2 weeks ago that he didn't even know who Donald Trump was, he said, quote, I'm paraphrasing, it was like they replaced him with somebody else. Do we see here? This is how incubated Donald Trump is. This is a very frightening proposition here.
Well, it is, and I think Elon Musk is a real savvy guy. I mean, if Elon thinks something's wrong, I'd wager something's wrong. And I'm very troubled by all of this, Dean, very troubled. And the idea of there being multiple Trumps, we really have lost control over who actually is our very president. We had a whole year with an imposter. I mean, I was calling him out from the time of the first debate with Donald Trump that this was not the Joe Biden from Delaware, was somebody else. And it turns out he has a different shape and size of skull. He's got different handwriting. He has different manner of expressing himself. Totally different guy. We're the real guy. And Trump has actually declared Joe Biden died. He says 2020, I say 2017. But that's quite a statement to come from the president that his predecessor in office was for 4 years an imposter.
Yeah. And Jim, is it crazy? Is it not crazy to think they can just do the exact same thing to Donald Trump? I mean, a lot of people still say we're under continuity of government. We certainly are. Here we have Liz Marchant saying the following: thinking Musk accuses Trump was on Epstein Island, knowing it would get the Dems to rush the exposure, but I think it backfired. Well, not with the dead man switch now. This is a whole new world with the late departed Virginia. Yeah. Yes. We have Kim who says, bitches be snitching. Is that true, Jim? I think it is. Here we have Egyptian princess saying NASA as an acronym for never a straight answer. I didn't know that's what it stood for. That makes perfect sense. We have, she also says disappointed in Loomer. I never liked her. That I can tell you. Okay, so let's get into this now. We know the day of, it was the anniversary of George Floyd last week. We also had riots in this country that were underway. Then we got word, Jim, of some senators from Minnesota. Okay, here's what we know. Let me tell you about it here, Jim. We'll get your take on this. This is the latest here. Well, if you have forgotten the Minnesota manhunt, they caught the gentleman who went to the senators over there who voted against funding the illegal migrants' health care, and the Democrats were sincerely pissed off about it. Well, after the gunman killed a lawmaker and wounded another, officials scrambled in what they called the largest manhunt in Minnesota's history. Suspect was arrested days ago on Sunday and charged with murder. Now, the suspect has conveniently been identified as Vance Bolter, 57 years of age, who's now facing first-degree federal murder charges, the U.S. Attorney's Office over there in Minneapolis has now said, which could allow the death penalty. He was also charged by the state prosecutors with 2 counts of second-degree murder, 2 counts of attempted second-degree murder, according to a criminal complaint obtained by the New York Times over there. Now, he's, if you forgot, State Representative Melissa Hortman, Democrat, and her husband are now departed over there, and injuring State Senator John A. Hoffman and his wife at their home nearby. They're saying that the suspect also visited houses of 2 other lawmakers the same morning, and apparently, allegedly, was supposed to go to Governor Tim Walz's home. I want to bring on, we have someone who's familiar with this matter, has been following this quite in great detail, is our very own regular here, our wonderful Night Owl Rebel Mama. Thank you for joining us here tonight. You brought this to my attention. You want to talk about plot twists and anomalies. I haven't even begun to touch that. What are we now learning a week after this fiasco? What are we now to pick up on this just sensational murder of Just
Yeah.
grandiose.
Well, they have to keep interest in the story. So today they dropped this bombshell that Tuesday night the crime scene was broken into. They don't know who, they don't know why, but they went in through the back door, took plywood off the window, broke the window, did a tour, didn't steal anything, and left. The police
Wow.
didn't even have the crime scene secured. It's in a gated neighborhood. How did somebody get in, get past security cameras or a possible live cop who's guarding a crime scene? Go in through the back door,
Interesting.
check it out, steal nothing, and then disappear. Well, number one, how did they know that anybody actually went in if they have no pictures and nobody saw them and nothing's missing?
Okay, so this is here's some of the anomalies, Jim. This is crazy. So they catch this guy where they found the No Kings posters, just like they found the passport on 9/11. Just, there's so many coincidences. It's like 1 in a trillion. Okay, so they find the passports. Then immediately they're telling the press, the police are probably in on it. So meaning fake cops who could be CIA assets, like we saw in George Floyd. Then they said he's an avid InfoWars viewer, a regular. So there you go. Now you know the fix is in, and he had a manifesto. And to add to it, they're saying, well, his next stop was going to be Governor Tim Walz after these two. And now here's the big takeaway, Jim, and I want you to take it because this is how it relates to George Floyd, because it was the 5-year anniversary. The stage was set for the riots. And it was in Minneapolis, which Obama and all those people still control. And this was going to be George Floyd 2.0. Jim, what are we to make of this? And let's get back into, let's dig up George Floyd here.
I think it's a mishmash, Dean. I can't make heads or tails out of it. This guy looked like a perfectly normal guy, 57 years old. He looked like a conservative businessman, if you like. What he's doing, going around and shooting politicians dead, I mean, it's bizarre. I honestly have yet to be able to make heads or tails, and it's not going to cause any mass movement. If you don't have a clear, simple storyline, you're not going to react. I don't know how to react. How would the masses out there? Unless, of course, they're just paid to do their role without understanding whatsoever. I'd love to hear what Mama has to say about it more.
Well,
I think it was all a setup. It was they used exactly the same plan that they used for George Floyd. Get everybody in position based on a different premise. Have something horrible happen to set them off. We know that they're using the 5G in order to rile up the rioters. And what a great way to make a big splash on President Trump's big day, but it backfired. And the reason that it backfired is because of people like Dean and Jim and Mike Adams and Alex Jones, who jumped on the air as fast as they could, got to the bottom of it and destroyed the narrative. And they couldn't salvage it. 5 years ago when George Floyd happened, we did not have an army like we do now. And as many people didn't listen to the army as they do now. We've got 3 sets of people. They've done divide and conquer beautifully. You've got Joe Normie, who just goes about their life and pretends everything's wonderful and doesn't want to hear it if it doesn't come from the network. So they're brainwashed into believing one narrative. We've got the ones in the middle that are kind of where we were 7, 8 years ago, going, what's going on? I need to do a little digging for myself. And then we've got people like us who know exactly what's going on, can see through it right away, raise the flag, and destroy the narrative. So the networks are pushing to one crowd, the YouTubers like TMZ that are kind of mainstream, the Benny Johnsons of the world, they're speaking to the middle of the roads. And then people like you are getting the real stuff out. And the people like us are going, and taking it the next level.
Let me add to this too here. And we have some bots here We don't even need to address it. But look at, so he gets arrested. He's on the run. Look how he's cleanly shaved, Jim. His clothes are cleanly primped and proper. Then they're saying that this guy right here, in the longer piece of the story, well, his former jobs was he worked at 7-Eleven. And what was the other one, Marty? He worked at 7-Eleven.
He dug eyeballs out of dead bodies at funeral homes. I'm not making it up.
Okay, this is the most cockamamie story of all time. But the real deal is, and I have confirmation on this, he was actually on at behest of the Democrats in the State Department. He was giving ministries around the country of Congo. It's all a bullshit story. This is a CIA hit job, just like George Floyd. And I'm surprised they didn't, reel out the old mannequin they used for George Floyd last time. Isn't that correct, Jim? That was a whole mannequin, the hair disappearing. I mean, what a debacle.
George Floyd was totally fake, but this appears to have involved real shootings. The woman legislator who cast a deciding vote, she was the only Democrat to do so, against extending health benefits for illegals, and he killed her and her husband. But it's not very strange. I can't take any credit for exposing this. I think others like yourselves have done that, but I'm just baffled by the whole damn thing.
Yeah.
I think it was arrogant of them to think they could get away with it.
Well, and also it makes Tim Walz plausible deniability as I was on the list too. I didn't know about this. He worked for Tim Walz for how many years? He was given ministries all over up and down Congo, which has now ruined their trade deal they were trying to get. The whole thing it was a poor attempt to rehash George Floyd 2.0. Exactly. That's bottom line of it all. That's the big takeaway
you know what?
here.
Pat yourselves on the back, because if it wasn't for people like you, Dean and Mike and everybody else, it would have just gone the way of the dodo bird. Everybody would have followed the narrative and believed it. But you guys cracked holes in it within the first 5 hours. Done.
Yeah. And Jim, just to close it off too, and to help my memory, wasn't George Floyd, before the whole incident happened, wasn't he being portrayed all over Obama's Twitter feed? And they were using his pictures on signs on top of being pornography. Does my memory serve me correct on that?
Oh, yeah. He was a porn star. You're absolutely right. And a fentanyl user. And if he's actually dead, it was from a drug overdose. I mean, this whole thing was totally staged, fabricated. Check out Deception Galore, Faking Hate Crimes and More, from my 2020 False Flags and Conspiracy Conference. And you get a lot about the fake Biden and Hillary's use of body doubles and Michelle being a guy, stuff you may have slipped by that you need to understand.
Oh,
Can I point something
Michelle.
out
Michelle's
here?
a man. Yes, go ahead. And right before you do, we have Manx Cat saying USAID money. Bolter has many fake businesses and NGOs. Yeah, NGOs are the problem. Very good. Dr. Detroit says, Grinder poster boy. Okay, so point something out there, Marnie, something that caught your attention.
Have you seen any funeral arrangements? Have you seen anything from the DNC saying, oh, we're so upset about losing our members? Have you seen anything to show that these people are actually gone?
Good point.
There's
Good
nothing.
point. And
What
I also
would
heard
stop if it was a CIA operative and they were pulling us off of the front door? What's to say somebody didn't clue in, knew what was going on, grabbed them out the back door, shoved them into a car and threw them in onto the island with Epstein and said, go sit tight until we're ready for you. We need your witness statement.
very good point. Very good point, Marnie. And I also heard was also in charge of a lot of the NGOs, but also in charge of bringing a lot of the Somalis into Minneapolis, which is renowned for that now.
But
okay.
He's starting to look more and more like a wannabe. Like he just wanted to be part of it, and he couldn't get a foothold.
Interesting. Okay, so let's we're going to forge ahead here. If you want to call in, this is Real Deal Media Live. This is our college night, but let's forge ahead now as we head into Real Deal Showbiz. Just don't tell Laura Loomer. Real Deal Showbiz. Real Deal Showbiz. Let's get into it. So this is what's happening now. Wendy Williams, and this is a very troubling story. Never really watched her show, but she was at the top of her game. And this is what happens to people who make a lot of money. And you can also make the case this is not only just happening to Justin Bieber, but this is happening to Donald Trump in a way, where the bank can decide whether you're fit to control your own money or if they have to have a court order conservator, meaning the babysitter. Let me tell you about this now. This is a troubling story now, as the ex-husband and many family members are making the attempt to save Wendy Williams as we speak. Yes, Wendy Williams, the former talk show host who's been living in exile in a lobotomized fashion. Well, now her ex-husband has filed a $250 million lawsuit seeking to end her guardianship on Tuesday. Kevin Hunter, who was married to Wendy Williams for 21 years until 2020, filed the federal lawsuit over there in New York, saying the guardianship has become a weapon, not a shield. And I concur. I've seen what they're doing to this woman. It's a crime, really. Wells Fargo. Well, the suit is against Williams' legal guardian, Sabrina Morrissey, no relation, who is appointed by the New York judge over there, Wells Fargo Bank, who first raised the alarm that Williams may be in trouble back in 2022, which just so happened to be the time she was going and speaking out against the miracle jab. So they shut her down. She has a lot of women, and that's who they're always aiming for in the media. Well, the lawsuit, which uses Williams' married name, charges that Hunter abused, neglected, and defrauded the guardian, that is, her, under the court-ordered appointed guardians. Now, the guardianship serves no therapeutic purpose, no protective function. It's punishment, pure and simple. Currently, Ms. Hunter is being confined against her will. That's Wendy Williams, that is her married name. Wendy is being confined against her will at the Cortese assisted living facilities, restricted access to her phone and meaningful contact with her friends and family. Williams, who voluntarily entered into the guardianship over there in 2022, shortly after Wells Fargo's bank froze her accounts in January of 22 due to suspicious activity. And that's when this cannonball run started. Let's talk about that here. Marnie, what do you know about that? I know you've been following the story.
Yeah.
And how is this even legal?
Well, it's not. It's absolutely not. And I watched the interview with not only with Wendy that she did with TMZ this morning. And it was her. Like, you could tell the voice was right. The mannerisms were right. She basically said, I don't want my ex-husband getting his nose in here. It has no business in here. He's only doing this to make a name for himself and get some publicity and maybe get a cut. And then they interviewed her lawyer, who said, exactly, he has no standing. This is just publicity garbage, go away. So that's pretty much the stand they're taking away.
I agree. He is a shady character because he got caught with the babysitter down the road, literally. But I think it raises question and awareness too. What kind of powers do these banks truly have over us, where they can freeze your account, then they can have a court order guardian be your babysitter from cradle to grave? There has to be more investigation.
The banks are no different than anything else. They're infiltrated just like the government is, just like everything is. And until we get it all gone, it's just multiple layers. It's like if you go to do anything. This piece of paper, well, I got to go to this place. Well, I can't get it from there because they're being jerks, so I got to go somewhere else. They're just making us jump through hoops for the sake of jumping through hoops.
See, Jim, this is why I'm not a millionaire, because I don't want to be frozen and with guardian appointees after me. And this is what I'm afraid of. We are running a little short on time, but let's get into Justin Bieber, who would be the ultimate witness in the Diddy case. What is the update with him? Because you concluded a bombshell last week that, and maybe you should rehash that, and then we can pick up on that. But where are we now?
Because his wife is trying to get conservatorship over all of his money. And he is married to the daughter of the guy that shot somebody in that movie. What was the name, Dean?
No, her name is Stephen Baldwin. You're thinking
Baldwin. That's it.
You're thinking of Alec Baldwin.
Yeah. So she is the daughter-in-law of the brother of Alec Baldwin. The question is, how crooked is the brother?
Well, here's what's interesting here. And I saw this, and this is what they do to people who are figures in the media, is when they want to take you out. We saw it with Michael Jackson. We saw it with Whitney Houston. We're even kind of seeing this now with Jim Fetzer and the onslaught of attacks on him, because he is the man of the hour in his case. But what they do is they pollute the search engine optimizations. That's all the search engines with your names tied to it. And they try to make you look crazy. So when it comes to your time to go to court and you have to retain or trying to civility and power of your life, well,
your
then they have a whole
out the window.
Exactly. I mean, look, if you just type Justin Bieber and look at the trash and the filth. Justin Bieber allegedly had a bitter Father's Day exchange with wife Haley. Justin Bieber says anger issues. I mean, it goes on and on. On top of Marnie, kind of like what Trump is enduring, he has an appointee guardian that's poisoning him. And anybody that's seen this poor kid, Justin Bieber, drugged out, they're keeping him drugged out to take him out, just like they did to Whitney and Michael. Do you see that, Jim? I mean, and Marnie, please feel free to.
Well, okay, they got Whitney, they got Michael, they saw a pattern, they saw a trend. They knew this was coming. So I'm just in a devil's advocate kind of mood right now. What if they met with Justin before the trial even started and said, they're going to smear you, they're going to take your credibility. So we're going to make you look awful. We're going to use a dummy to play the part. You're going to go spend a few months on an island with Wendy Williams or whoever else is there waiting to testify for real. What if this is all just for show to expose the normies to what is going on?
Well,
and then they'll pull out the real witnesses.
That's one angle. I believe they're trying to take this kid out, just like Anna Nicole Smith.
And they're probably doing everything they can to stop that from happening. And what better way to do it?
You know why, everybody? You're going to find out, and Jim, you're going to find out Puff Daddy, who keeps changing his name routinely, he's behind the takedown of Britney Spears. You're going to find that out. You're going to find out he was after Michael Jackson, trying to kill him.
Kanye.
He was poisoning people. And what they do is you go to the parties. You may not want to participate, but they drug you in your drink like they're doing to Trump right now. And they catch you in a compromising position, whether you're conscious of it or not. And this is what he does. He's a black Epstein, everybody. Do we see that?
Exactly.
Black Epstein. Okay, we have people here. We have Egyptian princes saying the following: Steve Baldwin used to be a Trump supporter. Don't know about now. He's in hiding. He's in hiding. Maddie Lynn gets it. Yet make him look crazy so he can get out of the court hearings. No one will take him seriously. That's what I think Bruce Willis is doing. I mean, they keep promoting his dementias every single day. Aussie Girl says, I feel so bad for Justin. He's our Canadian boy. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Manx says, again, a CIA op. Jim, we're fighting a war at every just facet of society. Are we not at this point, from the culture to the military?
Afraid we're seeing crumbling of American society on every side, Dean, and it's got very complicated roots. But unless Trump abandons the idea of going to war with Iran, I don't see a positive outcome for America on the horizon.
I heard today that officials from Iran are fleeing to Canada. Did you hear about this, Jim? Does anyone hear about this?
Yes.
I'd be very
Marnie,
surprised.
Actually, I sent you the video, Dean. Elevate covered it this afternoon. We know from a CSIS report, there is a CSIS report, which is the Canadian CIA, if you will, that have reported at least 20 top Iranian leaders are already in Canada. And if they can get out, this is their destination of choice, because our government will roll out the purple carpet for them.
Well, why that is, though, because also you have a huge Chinese government presence in Canada here. We have Joseph Dirk saying, I swear you can't go a day without hearing about Justin Bieber and Spears. Yeah, they're getting demonized to take them out because they know things. So
Well, they're
you
also
bet you're
trying
going
to
to run.
lead the masses down that path so that they're not paying attention to Trump. They're not paying attention to what really matters. Most of the normies are still, gaga for Hollywood. And
Yes,
anything
they
with a
are.
Bieber name in it, they're going to go read it.
Okay, well, we have, this is our last segment, I swear. Let's get to it. Space is the place. Yes, it is. Well, what I wanted to do is show you how bad it is here on Earth, because I have some good news for you. We can go to that getaway. We can finally escape now. What do I mean by that? Well, now we have life on Mars, and it's coming soon. In fact, there's Jim and I I believe Sean Gregorian. Just over the weekend, we were hanging out in our condo, man cave. But get this now, to leave on a positive note here. Well, life on Mars is possible. It's plausible, but it's possible, and it's going to be happening in a 15-year time frame. Are you aware of this? Would you go, and what would you wear? Well, life on Mars, humans will live in a huge space oasis, they're now saying, on the red planet in just a matter of 15 years, as European space agencies predict. Well, imagine a future where humans live in oases on Mars, luxury habitats made of heat-reflective material that grow their own food, robots that are sent there to adhere to you and be subservient and maybe even more. That's what the imagination's for. But a lot of people are saying, how are we going to do this exploration without the risk of exhaustion, radiation poisoning, dust contamination, or hell, who even knows, maybe even another mini Israel up there? Well, enormous space stations and satellites are manufactured in orbit, they're saying, and now with the advancements and the incredible pleasures of artificial intelligence, well, they're now trusted to make critical decisions in the whole solar system as we know it, as it's now connected to a vast internet network. Well, it sounds like science fiction to you. Well, the European Space Agency, who I subscribe to all the time, hopes it will become a reality in just 15 measly years. And I, for one, am excited because I want to get the hell out of here. How about all of you? Jim, kind of in closing, are you ready for Mars? Are we going to be roommates?
It's a fantasy, Dean. We can't even get to the moon. The idea of Mars is just far beyond the possible.
Well, I won't have that. I won't have that because we were there last week. And Marty, are you ready to go to Mars? Just
Only if they
15
have
years.
room service.
Only if they have room service. You hear that? You hear that? How about you out there?
I don't camp.
Hammer
I'm
time.
sorry.
Mars Dome, just the ice wall. Yeah, send the politicians there, Minx Cat says. And the Carolyn Shepard says they destroyed Mars. Good luck with that. I did not know that. Did they destroy Mars and I didn't know about it? We have the naked truth to Mars. And Meg says, my brother lives in Maui. Well, we can do that instead. Isn't that the case? All right, here we go. Final thoughts. Last call for Mars. Last call for Mars. Final thoughts here before we go to Mars. Jim Fetzer, take it away.
Well, Dean, the ambiguity of Trump's decision may be just a breathing room we need for humanity, because if he'd gone ahead to attack Iran, all hell was going to break loose. I have no doubt. So we've got maybe 2 weeks of breathing room, and maybe sanity will prevail after all. Let us hope.
Let us hope. Okay. On that note, and I concur to that. And Marty, I want to thank you for being here, sharing a bit of your discoveries, and all of you out there. And, the best thing we can do is expose the snakes around one of the most powerful men in the world, who is clearly under duress. There's no doubt about it. We've seen it. We have the evidence, and we know the history. So for Jim Fetzer, for Rebel Mama over there in Canada. I'm Dean Ryan saying thank you for sharing a bit of your night. And I promise you I won't go to Mars. I'm going to be here with all of you until the end because wild horses could not drag me away. Good night, everyone.
See him some